tell me where the restroom is too, because I'm deathly ill actually and ready to throw up at any moment. So.
Yeah, it's right across the hall.
Great. I'm not joking.
Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett completely transformed the way that I view procrastination and completely reformed the way that I go about being productive. Because the way that most people view these things can result in you feeling like you're making progress and being productive when you're really not, but can also feel like you're never working hard enough and you're constantly stressed out and constantly busy. Because when Steve Jobs would get busy and when there was lots on his to-do list, he would frequently go on a lot of walks. And Warren Buffett, who's constantly trying to be a better investor, plays around 8 hours of bridge every single week and spends a lot of time just relaxing. But then how did these people become so successful? Well, the psychologist Bluma Zygarnik discovered that people are far more likely to remember incomplete activities than they are complete activities. And when there's an activity that's incomplete inside of your brain, your unconscious is constantly working on completing that activity. So when Steve Jobs was putting things off and going on walks, he was actually creating a vacuum inside of his brain that could be filled with new ideas and potential solutions to those problems that he was working on. So does this suggest that we should be purposefully procrastinating on things that we should be doing? Well, not exactly. I think this is far more of a lexical problem, and I think the way that most people define procrastination is very unhealthy. In ancient Egypt, procrastination was defined as waiting for the right time. And as most people talk about procrastination, we mean delaying and putting things off. But I think there's a better definition of procrastination. A definition that, when applied to Steve Jobs, states that he wasn't actually procrastinating when he was going on walks. This allowed you to be far more productive, and this is the definition we use in the procrastination program. Procrastination is not putting things off. Procrastination is not using your time exactly the way that you want to. If Steve Jobs wants to go on a walk, and he believes that that is how he should use his time wisely, because it makes him more creative and it gives him space to come up with solutions to the problems he's having, then that is not procrastination. I remember I used to get annoyed at myself when I was working on a video and I would tidy my room or I would go on a walk because I wasn't explicitly working on the video, but this really limited my creativity. And nowadays we define productivity as time spent chained to our keyboard, instead of defining productivity as it should be defined, which is output, the amount of progress that is being made, the value and quality of ideas that is produced, or the solutions to problems. That is the definition of productivity we should be working on, instead of just brute hours spent working explicitly on solving a specific problem. And when we define productivity as output, not just time spent chained to a keyboard, we recognize that creativity is a massive part of productivity. And just because you're not working explicitly on solving the specific problem that you've got, doesn't mean that you're procrastinating. So by the sounds of things, procrastination is actually okay. There's a time and a place for procrastination, right? No. Procrastination should not be a part of any of our lives ever. We should work relentlessly on removing this problem from our life. We have a limited amount of time, and how we use that time determines everything. So procrastination, with the new definition, is not using your time wisely. Therefore, procrastination is the inverse of a good life. But that doesn't mean that you can't go on walks, and that doesn't mean that you can't relax, because the new definition of procrastination is whether or not you're using your time wisely. And oftentimes these activities are actually a wise use of your time. This is stepping away from the toxic productivity that we have nowadays. Now, obviously, there is a massive danger to all of this, because I have just blurred the lines between productivity and procrastination. Is going on a walk productive, or is it procrastination? The more I analyze my own thoughts inside of my brain, the more almost scared I am by the power of the brain's ability to rationalize. Oftentimes we feel a certain emotion, we want something to be true, we don't want to do a certain piece of work, and our brain is very easily able to come up with logic to justify the emotions. If you don't want to do a certain activity, the brain comes up with excuses. Now's not the perfect time, I'll do it tomorrow, and logic is used to rationalize these emotions. So we've got to be incredibly careful about whether we're just justifying and rationalizing procrastination by pretending it's productive, or whether we are actually being productive. And the best way to overcome this is to systemize creativity. Now, most people, when they hear this, they believe that creativity is on the opposite end of the spectrum to systemization. Systemization is rigid, and therefore systemization stifles creativity, but that is a limiting belief. That is completely not true. And in fact, I found that if you're able to systemize your life in the correct way, you're actually able to generate more creativity. For example, if I have a vague, undefined problem that I want to try and solve, the best way for me to solve that problem isn't to just do what I feel like doing and hope that it's going to get solved. I've come up with a very specific protocol that I go through that's systemized in a way to allow myself to come up with creative solutions. For example, part of this system is going on a long walk, and during that long walk, I know through nature I'm able to come up with good ideas. So by adding constraints, I've given myself more freedom. I've given myself the ability to be more creative by adding in rules for myself. There are specific activities that increase the likelihood of you coming up with creative ideas, so you should systemize the doing of those activities. The old way of defining procrastination is putting things off and delaying things, but the new way of defining procrastination is not using your time wisely. And if you want to use your time wisely, there's a video on screen right here that's going to show you how better to use your time wisely. And also, if you've enjoyed this video and you want the YouTube algorithm to show you more on your homepage, like this video and subscribe, and then the algorithm's going to show you more videos that can really change your life. Appreciate you for making it to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.